Hello, hello. Welcome to the news. This week we have news about choppers, airports, plugins, VATSIM, and planes. Don't go anywhere. So I am joined once again by your man over there wearing a V-neck t-shirt. Gibbo, how are you?
Murph from Grand, how are you? It's good to see you, and yeah, thanks for having me.
I love your t-shirt, and I didn't say once. Well, I did. Anyway, moving on. Gibbo, we've loads of news this week, and it's not the usual kind of array of news because, well, you know, we'll start with a helicopter. The Chopper, our friends over at Hype Performance Group, well, they've released the early access, I suppose, to the military variant of the H145 by Airbus. This thing has rockets, Gibbo. Rockets!
It does things, you know, and that's actually what I would like to comment on with this, Murph. Well, usually with the military versions, it's cosmetic in comparison to the luxury or civilian variants. And yeah, launchable rockets. I mean, how cool is that? It's not just rockets that comes with this too, Murph. There's also other highlights with this release, including countermeasures that are currently inoperable, but they're coming, SATCOM, radio antenna, animated front cameras and sensors, and lots more. So this is an exciting update, and actually does things as well when you fire the rockets here too, right?
It does. So like you have a little click spot and it'll launch a rocket, and it gives you these kind of weird cool smoke effects. There's sound effects, and okay, the sim doesn't have, you know, destructible scenery, as you know, you can't blow up objects or whatever, but if you do shoot them at the ground, it creates kind of like the impact sound wave thing. There's a scientific name for that, but it actually kind of brings smoke out of the scenery. I was like, as you do, fire! And next thing I said, oh, there's loads of chimneys over here. Some sort of factory, perhaps. No, it was where I was shooting stuff at the ground. And I have to say, it's really, really good. The performance I found is excellent. The military variant is cool because, you know, you can see from the pictures here, the guys are in uniform. It looks the job. And it's, you know, when these guys said for their first payware product, they're going to give you 3 totally different choppers, yet it's the same chopper. But they really have, because the difference between now the 3 variants, it's really starting to kind of come together. So yeah, it's something very, very weird, cool and different. So anyone who's part of the early access, if you like, in which you can pick that up, well, you can download this now, which is awesome. So moving on, our friends over at Orbex, as if they weren't already busy after putting out a ton of content with the Australian World Update, well, they're also working on a new airport. What's happening here, Gibbo?
This is the beautiful city of Prague. It's the capital city of the Czech Republic, of course, and this is Lima Kilo Papa Romeo, which is Václav Havel Airport. And yes, Murph, this is at the very final stage of development and will soon be available for Microsoft Flight Simulator. This airport was founded 85 years ago and suffered several extensions and improvements over the decades. It has 2 main passenger terminals, 2 GA terminals, and a dedicated cargo facility. And there's over 50 airliners actually that operate to and from this particular airport. Of course, Prague is well connected to the whole world. So there's plenty of business and cargo flights there as well. In terms of where this is at, Orbex is putting the final touches to the scenery. That includes some nice additional content beyond the airport. It promises, of course, as usual, as you'd expect from Orbex, a highly accurate and detailed recreation, which respects the latest real-world changes and custom jetways and ground services vehicles. So there'll also be 21 custom points of interest. Yeah, it should be available in the next week or two, I'd hope to say.
It's pretty awesome because Orbex, as of late, you know, they've been focused a lot on the smaller kind of regional airports. This one is huge. And because they're adding in all these different POIs to it, really looking forward to it. Come here to me. Did you live in a household that had like the Child of Prague up in the mantelpiece?
Yes.
Is that just an Irish thing?
I think so. I don't know why it was there. Protecting us, was it? I don't know.
We used to have it on a plate or something. Was it a plate? I can't. Anyway, the Child of Prague. But anyway, moving on. More important news. Our friends at DC Designs. We're so excited about this thing. In particular, when it comes to all the switches and knobs. But the sounds. We have been witnessing the sounds of this amazing new airplane that's coming out, of course, which is the Concorde. And this is a video released just to kind of tease us. Gibbo, what was happening here?
Yeah, this does sound incredible. It's a shame we can't get sound across, but check it out for yourself. We'll leave the link in the description below.
I can hear it. It's okay. I'll enjoy it. You keep going. You keep going.
This is the first video we're seeing, Murph. We've had lots of stills and we've been showing them off on these news series for quite some time now, but finally we get to see it in action. The latest update from DC, as usual, it's quite a long update that he gives us. The annunciator lights are now active. There's testing going on with the pilot's instruments that are all now fully operational. The first officer's instruments are all next in line, leaving just the engineer's panel remaining in terms of the lighting. He's also made some huge progress on one of the problems that he had to face, which was simulating Concorde's 13 fuel tanks into the Sims 8. So he's worked on that to increase the realism of flight operations. There was a cool thing as well that DC mentioned here, Murph. I thought you'd get a kick out of this. So one interesting fact about the Concorde was how the fuselage stretched almost 2 feet when it was at Mach 2 due to heat and friction and so forth. So that actually created a gap in the panel that you'd actually get to see when it was flying at that speed, like within the cockpit. And he's recreated that.
No way.
Some of the captains were able to put their cap in the actual gap, which would then close and shrink as it reduced speed, of course. But he's been able to recreate that in the sim, which is pretty awesome as well. So yes, it's onto the lots more detail and attention and really finishing touches, if you like. The last thing that he signaled as next is the interior modeling to do with the cabins, and even upper class sections as well will be modeled here too, which will be fun. So yes, it's coming along nicely.
I can't wait. It's due to release, I believe, this month in February. And I once read about, they're able to like put a book in the expanding wall and then it came back again. We would never be allowed beyond that. Could you imagine the crack we'd have? Be hiding your car keys. Go on and put them in, sure, it'll be grand. Where's me keys? We've landed. Do you know? But I'm so looking forward to the Concorde, and DC Designs, they seem to be doing a great job here. And I'm loving all the updates. I mean, it's fantastic. They're so open, which is great. But moving on, did you see the state of this? It's all PMDG hype. You know what I mean? The 737, and it's going to be, it's finally... Well, we forgot about the Fenix. This thing, they've just released a video of it, and there's sounds in it, which, once again, I can hear, Gibbo, but you can't. But this thing looks incredible. Now, I don't know where it's going to be at in terms of the fidelity and the systems and all of the cool things that we kind of expect from a PMDG, but certainly this looks to be probably the best looking Airbus that you can probably get, especially now that they're able to utilize what we have in the new Microsoft Flight Sim. So, Gibbo, what do we know about it?
Well, there's exciting news with this, Murph. Just in the last day or so, Phoenix Simulations announced on their website that this is now moving very well and into beta stage.
Oh, nice.
Awesome. So they're significantly closer to something that they feel resembles an actual product, with updates and fixes being smaller and less impactful now at this stage overall than in the months prior. They say that the scaffolding is coming down, so to speak. So yeah, it'll be a sizable beta that, and sizable user base. I think that they'll be looking to help put the aircraft through its paces. They're also targeting pilots with different levels of experience and backgrounds. This video does look unbelievable. I wonder how they created it. I haven't seen something like this before, which is quite something. And the sounds, as you say, Murph, again, we'll leave a link in the description to this so you can check it out for yourself. But this is the first sounds we've heard of the aircraft on the tarmac, and it is incredible. So this is an exciting one to watch for sure.
Absolutely. And don't forget that Fly-by-Wire still offer us an amazing A320, which is free, by the way. But this I'm hoping is going to have more refinement and more polish. And watching this video, actually, I got kind of excited because I'm thinking, the movement that we can see here, it was all done kind of post-edit and whatever, processed in. But this is the sort of stuff that we will hopefully soon be able to expect, when the API starts opening up more with the likes of a chase plane camera system, whereby you can kind of achieve these sort of visuals, camera movements, by using a third-party app live in the sim. So much stuff is happening here. I'm so excited to see what this Fenix A320 is all about, just to see a bit of competition, But moving on, we've had, of course, the release of World Update number 7, and we had the dev Q&A shortly before it. And now, there was a lot in this, Gibbo. We sent you away to get loads of notes, and you came back to me twice saying you ran out of paper. But there's so much information here. We're going to go through it a little bit, and there's one topic that we found kind of interesting. So, Gibbo, what's the story here?
Yeah, Murph, you're right. There's lots to cover here, so I'll try and be brief, but there's a lot of interesting tidbits to go through. So, Murph, the first thing is that we spoke on the news series before about how they're combining local legends and famous flyers and so forth. So what they're doing is we'll have world updates, of course, and we'll talk about Australia in just a moment. And then coupling with that is the local legends series. So that will be really about planes that were famous in the region that's featured in the world update. But then, of course, there's sim updates as well, which they're calling major releases. And that's where the famous flyers will kind of coincide with that. And the famous flyers are planes that are famous in general for a variety of reasons. So you'll have seen some on this slide, which is populating now shortly, as to what is coming in each of those particular series. So that's just good to understand when you see new releases. And we'll talk about some of those in a moment. In addition to that, we also heard from Microsoft and Sobo in relation to, 6 world updates this year, 4 in the first half of this year, starting with Australia, of course. And they mentioned in under sim updates that there's a surprise release coming soon. They really wouldn't talk more about it. And again, there's going to be 6 sim updates this year. May being the Top Gun Maverick one, June being another surprise, fall, autumn for us being gliders. There'll be another release which will be a surprise in the autumn, and then the final release in the autumn will be helicopters. So that's what'll make up a lot of the sim update plans for this year. Coronado are on. They spoke about the Beechcraft Model 17, which is coming in April. And then we got the release, of course, of announcement I should say, of World Update 8, which is going to be Iberia, which of course is Spain and Portugal.
Nice.
There'll be, by the way, 6 new cities there, 99 POIs, 44 airports, and it's Gaia that will be making the models here. Murph, we've covered that before. And there'll be new missions from Perfect Flight included in that as well.
Sweet.
Local Legend number 3, which is the first transatlantic flight from Spain to South America, will feature the Dornier. That's the flying boat, and they're using the same guy who developed the Junkers.
Nice.
And they spoke a bit about sim improvements as well. They spoke a lot about airflow improvements, which did look fascinating. To do with the props and the airlift, the impact on control surfaces, feathering, prop wash improvements, wake turbulence improvements, and so on. That looked kind of cool. They spoke a little about Xbox. I think that was on request from the chat, and how they're working with the platform team to avoid the risk that C++ development of aircraft is causing by third parties by creating sandboxes and so forth. They say that they've got the support of the platform team at Xbox secured to assist with that. Interestingly, they spoke about DX12, and Martial spoke about that they have a prototype of DLSS, and that is resulting, they sound quite surprised actually, which is great, in a big quality improvement or a big performance improvement with the same quality on the GPU side. And that'll also include multi-screen support as well. So what they're planning to do is, as part of the DX12 work, they'll merge it into the main branch and it'll come out in a sim update, and they're aiming for sim update 10, although that may slip. Finally, 2 quick things is that post World Update 7, which we'll talk about shortly, the Australia update, as they say, once that's in market, which was literally yesterday, that sim update 8 will be available in beta. So that's the next thing to look forward to in Microsoft Flight Simulator. And finally, that York saw some stability numbers that he didn't like. So he confirmed on the dev Q&A that Sim Update 9 is going to focus on stability.
Okay, so much information there. Yeah. So I think, Iberia, I'm really looking forward to. I mean, that's going to be amazing. Absolutely. I'm a little bit kind of concerned whereby Sim Update 8 was flagged, and okay, maybe the good news is they've identified a whole lot more issues that they want to push out. Coronado making an airplane, yeah, that's great news. It's a fine looking machine. Is that Beechcraft Model 17? Again, another kind of local legend aircraft, a transatlantic, boat. I said it right. Seaboat. No, sailboat. Them fellas. Yeah. But so, yeah, like there's a ton of news in it. I don't know. It just seems, is there, like, if someone were to say to me, what are you doing tomorrow, Murph? And I'd be like, it's a surprise. Like, what is a surprise? Like, what can we expect here from Microsoft when they say we have surprises? They've already mentioned choppers. They've already mentioned gliders. We have information on the sim updates. We have information on the world updates. Surprise! So it's intriguing to see what it's going to be. I reckon flying chickens. But look, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like, I think the news on DX12 is interesting. I think we all kind of know the early release of DX12 for me, unmitigated disaster. It is the cause of all your CTD woes. I don't know if you guys experienced anything different. It might depend on your hardware. I'm super excited about DLSS because, multiple monitors is a huge thing holding back a lot of the people who have built their home set of cockpits with multiple screens using different panels. There are kind of ways around it. You have to mess around with kind of, the crazy dark arts to get them working, but you want this to work out of the box. So, this, as soon as we have that, that's just going to be absolutely incredible indeed. But there was something else that you found, and then we spoke about it, and we said, it was a discussion about PMDG.
That's right, Murph. Like, you're such a huge fan of the Boeing 737 that's coming from PMDG shortly. That's very clear to everybody. But what I wanted to pick up on was that we've heard a lot from PMDG lately in the past month or two, really, in relation to showstoppers that they were encountering from Asobo. And very much the finger was being pointed, it seemed, in relation to this issue, and that was resulting in delays or problems, and that they weren't getting the communication levels, etc., etc. And on this dev Q&A, Microsoft and Asobo were politely pushing back, I gotta say. So what they shared here, which I thought was interesting, was their side of the coin, really, which was that they say that the issue with PMDG was surprisingly simple, and that they seem to think it might have been just a matter of a communication breakdown, that they were hearing publicly expressed by PMDG that nobody's listening to them, and they commented, well, really, they just talked literally that day. They also said that other plane manufacturers have resolved that same issue that, PMDG were making such a fuss about. Everything was already there in the sim, and once it clicked what it was that they were actually asking of Microsoft and Asobo, it was immediately resolved. So I just found that interesting because nobody seems to have picked this up, that, there was lots of fingers being pointed in their direction, and as I say, they seem to push back. So it does kind of show that there are two sides to every story, and probably the truth lies somewhere in the middle. But do you think it was just a matter, Murph, of, and this is pure speculation, of course, but it was just a matter of communication breakdown, or do you think maybe PMDG might have been using it as an excuse to delay things?
Kinda. Like, I mean, okay, let's look at where we are at the moment. There is no doubt at all that PMDG's first release into Microsoft Flight Sim was groundbreaking. It was amazing, the DC-6. But it hasn't been updated for quite a while, and there are a couple of issues with it, and even now with the introduction of the new visual effects, it's kind of leaving the DC-6 kind of back there a little bit. I mean, there's no real startup smoke, there's no effects from fuel being jettisoned. I don't know. It's a little bit worrying. So is it the case of, right, this is done, get it out of the gate, let's forget about it, and now we're working on to the next project? It was very strange, I thought, when PMDG were saying, it's been 100 days and, we haven't heard much back from Asobo, and then, it was a showstopper, and, a couple of days later, no, we're right on track. In fact, we're going to come out soon and give you guys a release date. So, I don't know. Is it like stalling tactics? I don't know what it is, but it is definitely interesting. I don't know, like, the products are good, so I have enough confidence in them because they are that good. They are amazing, absolutely incredible. But I don't know, like, it's what do you guys think? I mean, is it okay? Is it kind of weird? Or, everyone giving out about Asobo and Microsoft, yet they're saying, hey, nothing to do with us, guy. I mean, this is your issue. What do you guys think? it's got to be hard for both parties, right? I mean, it's got to be hard for PMDG, who just want to release the product. At the same time, they want to release it the way they know how to do it. And then if you have the platform, which doesn't really allow it, and you got to do a workaround, but maybe PMDG were saying, well, that's going to drop our quality and we're not willing to do that. So you don't know. There's all sort of politics and drama. Either way, I think, the good thing for us, we know that there is a 737 on the way soon. Let's hope that the DC-6 will eventually get its update. Hopefully the Xbox users finally get to use it properly, because I know a lot of people were kind of bummed out when it didn't work. A lot of people got refunds. And that's kind of a step backwards, especially on how great PMDG have built that airplane. It's to say that the Xbox consumer for Microsoft Flight Sim are missing out. That's accurate. They are missing out because it's such an amazing plane. So fingers crossed they get it figured out and they can move forward with it. But yeah, nice find, Gibbo. Absolutely. So moving on, right? Here we are. Look at this thing. The Embraer. Now, this is from a developer called the Ouroboros. If I said that wrong, I'm blaming Gibbo. It was in his notes. But Gibbo, what's happening here? I love Embraer jets, by the way. They're beautiful. Brazilian built. So what's the story here?
Well, this is a nice departure, I got to say, Murph, from always talking about Boeings and Airbuses of the world, right, to actually talk about the Embraer collection here, really, of E-jets. So we've got the Embraer E170, E175, E190, and E195. And yes, this is freeware work that's been undergone by Ouroboros, I hope I pronounced that right too, who first signaled this quite some time ago, and they've been relatively quiet since, but we do have an update. So they're getting significant work done on them all. I joined their Discord and was deeply researching where they're at. The 3D model for the cockpit is almost complete. They're working on decals for the entire cockpit. And it'll be ready already for a forthcoming beta stage. It already, as you can see from these screenshots, does look impressive and detailed. Some of these screenshots do go back a bit in time from earlier development stages. But yes, they'll next be, prior to the beta release, be focusing on, of course, the systems, displays, and so forth. And what they're looking to do here is, of course, not release a study-level simulation of these E-jets, but rather a fairly realistic and interactive experience where most of the switches and buttons will work. So it'll probably be, they're aiming for, I think, a similar level to Asobo's default airplanes. But we'll see, I suppose, over the coming months. They were asked a question about a ultimate release date, and they weren't ready to reveal that yet. They are working on the E170 as the first variant that will be released. So it'll be a couple months away, but definitely one to watch, and an interesting change, as I say.
Absolutely. And there are two things I need to add to this, Gibbo, right? First and foremost, I will leave a link in the video description. Embraer did this fantastic, it was all for their business jets. They did a fantastic kind of video thing, paying homage to that of Top Gun. So I'll leave that in the description. But also, the name of these aircraft suit me very well. Because if you say it fast enough, it's quite convincing. Yeah, Murph's flying the E-jets. E-jets. Do you see what I did there? It's not just a hat rack. But anyway, moving on. This is painful, isn't it? Anyway, moving on. Gibbo, there's more news here. Because, of course, the big news this week is, well, we've just witnessed World Update 7, Australia. And it's absolutely massive. But starting off, I'm going to start with the aeroplane that was made available with this update, which is a separate purchase. It's €15, and it focuses on the Fokker F7. And, well, a couple of mixed reports on this initially from the reviews that I've seen thus far. From a distance, just like the song, it looks amazing, do you know? But I think if you get very up close and personal, I think a few people were a little bit worried. Now, bearing in mind, it's a €15 add-on, so you can't really get too excited, I suppose. But look, a very iconic airplane indeed. And it comes with, you know, its own skids and floats and other bits and bobs. What do you make of it? Is this something that will reside in your virtual hangar?
Yeah, not for me, Murph. Unfortunately, this is part of the local legend too. As I said at the start of the video, coinciding with the World Update release, of course, of Australia.
Mhm.
Not for me. It's another classic airplane, Murph. You know me. I like the more modern and up to date, aircraft. I gotta say, but look, it has 6 variants, including a ski variant. It also has a number of models, including the Southern Cross, the Friendship. That was the one actually that Amelia Earhart was a passenger in. The Josephine Ford, the Fokker F7A, and one with the distinctive KLM livery as well. And it has 11 liveries too. As you say, it's available now in the Sim marketplace priced at $15. But no, the reviews haven't been amazing so far. It's early days, of course. I think it's only out a day or so at this point, but it's not promising what we're seeing in the reviews.
Now, I will say this though, I have every confidence in Orbex because it is an Orbex aircraft. So they will turn it around if it needs to be. I think, it's 1 or 2 textures were a bit, and it's 5 gigs. It's a huge download considering for the aircraft. But look, fingers crossed to get it done. I mean, for me, I like the historic aircraft. I like the vintage ones. I think for me, it's amazing to see how planes have evolved, if you like, over the last whatever number of years. But yeah, there seems to be a heavy kind of, I won't say focus on some of the more older aircraft. Maybe that they're easier to build, or that the systems required to really showcase the modern aircraft aren't really there yet. So maybe that's the case. But look, it's still a fantastic vintage aircraft. It's a very historic aircraft. And, once you're not, nosed pressed up against the fuselage, it's beautiful and it sounds great as well. And I think all reports that I have read and seen is it flies really, really well. So that's something. But yeah, let us know in the section below, guys. I mean, did you pick it up? Is this going to be something you guys are going to fly? Let's see what happens. But staying, of course, with the World Update 7. But sure, listen, Australia, the land down under, men at work and all of that. This is a huge World Update. And I can't believe it. This is probably the first update I've ever had to make to the sim. It didn't break anything. Now, touch wood, but it hasn't broken anything on my system yet. Everything's working very, very well. They've added in so many things here, and I think it's like the most amount of POIs for one country. So, Gibbo, what are some of the details on this new update?
Well, Murph, I'm looking forward to in a moment your Aussie accent. Put Shane to put Shane in his box.
Can Shane can JustFlight Simmer do an Irish accent? Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, welcome down under. Yeah, we're just flying in the old skip, Yeah, I wonder, can he do one? Anyway.
Right, we've got new aerial imagery, we've got water mass, we've got high resolution elevation data, and we've got 4 bespoke new airports with over 100 improved ones. There's 94 new custom POIs, all made by Orbex. So there'll be plenty to see and discover for sure across this massive scenery. They've also added 16 new activities, which include bush trips, discovery flights, and landing challenges. And those that like a more urban experience will be able to enjoy 11 major cities now with photogrammetry data. So, yes, Murph, this is available, of course, as a free download, but it's interesting how they've done this, right, in terms of releasing it.
They kind of hid it. There was no signpost. It was literally hidden away. So, look, that's where it is. Because usually you go to Content Manager and see what's there, and it wasn't there. You could update all the other regions, and then you go into the store and you're like, where is it? It's over on the right-hand side in the store. That's it's. You can all say, yeah, Murph, there was a big sign on it that said free or world updates. Oh yeah, but I found it. Where is it? But we found it. We found it. But listen, I'm so excited for this. I mean, apart from the spiders, I absolutely love Australia. And I've been flying a lot myself in the sim before the update. And I'm looking around thinking, this place is just stunning. Now that we have the update and they have added so many things. And I'm trying to remember, did you ever see that movie, The Dish?
No.
Where was your childhood? The Dish, right? One of the best movies ever. I think The Dish out of The Dish is... The Dish is in the thing. I think the park, isn't that the one? Or Parks Observatory? Anyway, we're going to start exploring this tomorrow, would you believe it, on our own live stream over on Twitch. I can't wait because, well, Australia's kind of big, do you know? And we're going to go rambling over there. So it's huge news, a massive amount of POIs, airports, and just fantastic scenery. And Orbex, being an Australian company, they were at home doing this. I mean, they just would have had so much fun, and they really kind of, they really brought the best of what they can do for us to see. So yeah, tomorrow, Wednesday, we're going to be checking this one out. I can't wait at all. So so moving on, Gibbo, our last bit of news. We've never covered this before. VATSIM has received an update, and it's called Velocity. What can you tell us about this?
It was released yesterday, Murph. This is, Velocity, which is designed to provide users with more reliability, greater connectivity, and as the name suggests, lightning fast performance.
Ooh.
So they say Velocity will enable users to see movements of other aircraft with greater precision, as their positions are updated 25 times faster than previous experiences.
Oh.
So I was intrigued a little by this, and apparently the way some of the problems that people were having in the past was that on occasions it would result in strange behavior, whereby you'd see aircraft sliding across taxiways or changing direction rapidly, even nose dipping under braking. So they've resolved all that with it being updated 5 times a second on the VATSIM network now.
Whoa.
So there's other benefits as well that they say that users will see in the Air 2, particularly when flying in formation with other aircraft at low speeds. So yes, an interesting update.
I wonder how this is going to make London controller Jamie feel, because he's the only man I know who can multitask at the rate that he does. He can sing, dance, talk, control, fly, and I don't know, look at you at the same time. And now I'm thinking, well, this is now going to be 25 times more efficient and faster. Is he going to be under pressure? I don't know. But it's huge news for VATSIM. Still no word yet of any sort of online ATC for the Xbox. And I'm like, come on, someone's got to crack the egg and get in there and figure it out. But listen, as far as news goes, we've had a week of it. So much news here, and it's all great, exciting stuff. Do you know? There's lots happening for Microsoft Flight Simulator. So that brings us to the end of this week's show. Don't forget, you'll catch us over on twitch.tv/Two-Tone Murphy every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 2000 Zulu time. I hope to see you there. And well, until then, look after yourselves and take care.
Take care.